You grew up in a loving, devout Muslim home with parents who adored you. And what did your Muslim faith mean to you as a child?
It was everything. It was my identity. It was what we loved. It was our culture. It was our community. Islam isn't just something that Muslims believe. It's who they are. And so to understand the Muslim mindset, when you're talking about Islam, they think you're talking about them. And it's important for us to realize that when we interact with Muslims and our Muslim neighbors, we should show the love of Christ, remembering that this is all brand new to them.
Now, when you were in college, you had a relationship with someone named David that really was very profound. Tell us about that.
Well, you know, as a Muslim, I would challenge Christians all the time. I would challenge them that the Bible had been changed, that Jesus never claimed to be God, and that Christianity, in worshiping God as a Trinity, was actually a polytheist faith. So these are things I'd been taught as a young Muslim, and I challenged David. But David was the first Christian out of hundreds I'd spoken to who was ready with a response.
Unbelievable. Well, when did it first dawn on you, Nabil, that everything that you'd believed, everything that you'd been taught since a youngster was a lie?
Well, it was when I was investigating the evidence for Christianity, which stands in contradistinction to the evidence for Islam. Because if Jesus claimed to be God and died on the cross, that not just proves Christianity, it disproves teachings from the Quran. And when I saw that the evidence was strong and that the evidence for Islam was weak and lacking, that brought me to my knees to ask God who he really was.
Well, did you literally get out the Bible and read it cover to cover, or was there a book that you read or something that the light bulb just went off?
You know, it took years, Wendy. I mean, this was a very, very long process. It was the relationship with David where we could really talk about these things openly and keep coming back to them time after time. And we got angry.
Yeah,
we slammed doors.
I bet you got angry at first, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there was times where we said, we're never going to talk about this again. And then like 5 minutes later, he'd say, Nabil, I need to ride home. And so we would just talk about it. And so that relationship is what got us to continue talking about the gospel.
How did God speak to you personally, Nabil?
It was when I was broken. I was at this point where I realized what the stakes were. The stakes are extremely high. Who is Jesus? If he is God, that changes everything. And so I came before God and asked him directly, I don't know who you are anymore. Can you just tell me who you are? And Muslims often ask God for dreams to guide them, and so I did as well. And God gave me a vision and 3 dreams that led me to Christ.
Well, tell us about one of these dreams that God gave you.
But at this time, I realized that God was hearing me and that I could ask for a clear dream. So I did. I had the boldness and just asked, Lord, give me something that's so clear, I don't even have to interpret it. I just know what it means. I got my next dream, where I was standing at the threshold of a narrow door. This door was just wide enough to fit me and just tall enough to fit me. I mean, it was a very powerful image in this dream, how narrow this door was. And beyond the door was a room which had a feast going on. And I knew that in that room was the feast of heaven. But it hadn't started yet. People were waiting, as if for someone to start the event. And I wanted to get in the room, but I couldn't because my friend David was at the threshold. And I looked at him, and he was kind of blocking it, and I said, David, I thought we were going to eat together. And he said, you haven't responded. And in the dream, I knew that I needed to respond to his invitation to get into heaven. But here's where it gets crazy. When I woke up, I called the real David, and I said, David, can you tell me what this dream means? He says, it's so clear, I don't need to interpret it, which is what I had asked from God. I said, what do you mean? He said, go to Luke chapter 13, verse 22. He knew his Bible, for one. When I flipped to Luke 13, 22, I saw in big, bold letters the words, the narrow door. And as I read it, it was basically saying that Jesus was going through the towns and villages preaching the good news. And the disciples asked, Lord, are many going to be saved? And he said, make every effort to enter through that narrow door. Because many, I tell you, will try, and few will be able. And you will see people sitting inside at the feast of the kingdom of heaven. Make every effort to enter before the owner comes and closes that door, or you'll be weeping and gnashing your teeth. God gave me a dream where he placed me in the center of a biblical parable, telling me exactly where I was in my life.
That is powerful. Well, how did your conversion affect your Muslim family?
It was devastating. It was devastating. We have a small family, just my sister and I and my parents. And as the only son in the family, I kind of carried the honor for our family in the next generation. And becoming a Christian was about the worst thing I could do to my family's honor. So it wasn't just a decision I was making that affected me. It affected the whole family. And when a Muslim comes to Christ, there's much, much that he has to consider giving up.
Well, you've got a terrific new book out called Seeking Allah, Finding Jesus, and it's available wherever books are sold. So be sure to get a copy of this. This is a powerful book. Nabil, God bless you.
Thank you so much,
for
Wendy.
being with us.